Have you ever felt like you're in a constant battle with your own mind? One minute it's your most brilliant asset, and the next, it's just dragging you down a rabbit hole of worries and distractions. Well, you're not alone, it's a universal struggle. But what if an ancient text held a powerful framework for understanding this inner conflict? Today, we're going to dive into the Bhagavad Gita's profound guide to the mind.
And this is really the fundamental question, isn't it? The Bhagavad Gita doesn't just ask us to think about it, it offers this incredible perspective on why the mind can be both, and more importantly, how we can choose which one it becomes. And the answer, according to the Gita, begins with a very surprising and very powerful metaphor.
So, to explain the raw, untamed nature of the mind, Lord Krishna uses this really potent image, a serpent. And we're not talking about just any serpent, but the most magnificent and divine of them all. In this verse, Krishna basically says, you want to see my divine essence? Look at Ananta, the infinite, multi-headed serpent. Now, this isn't just some fancy poetry. The Gita is making a huge point here. The raw, untamed mind that you have possesses a power and potential that is literally divine in scale.
And if you think about it, this serpent metaphor is perfect, right? The mind is immensely powerful and vast. And Sheshnag's thousands of hoods? Well, that's like the thousands of thoughts, desires, fears, and impulses that can pop into our awareness at any moment, each one pulling us in a completely different direction. This is the mind in its raw, untamed, default state. So, what happens when this powerful, thousand-headed serpent is just left to its own devices, facing outward toward the world? Well, the result is something we all know a little too well: chaos. This verse from the Gita feels so incredibly modern, doesn't it? Arjuna is basically complaining to Krishna that trying to control the mind is futile. It's like trying to bottle the wind. And that just validates our own struggles, showing this isn't some new problem, but a timeless part of being human.
So when the mind faces outward, it's just constantly reacting to the world through the senses. And the Gita says this state is dominated by two natural energies. The first is rajas, that's the frantic energy of endless action and desire. The second is tamas, the heavy energy of negativity, fear, and inertia. You put those two together, and they create a storm of directionless, reactive energy.
So if the mind is this untamable serpent, are we just doomed? The Gita says, absolutely not. See, the secret isn't to kill the serpent, but to give it a single, unifying purpose. To give its thousands of heads one direction to look in.
And the solution is illustrated so brilliantly in another great epic, the Ramayana. In that story, the very same infinite serpent, Sheshnag, takes on a human form. And it's in that new form that we find the key to the mind's transformation. He was incarnated as Lakshmana. And get this, here's the beautiful linguistic key. His name is literally the instruction. Man means mind, and Laks means goal. So Lakshmana represents the serpent mind, but a mind that's been transformed by a single, unwavering purpose.
An aimless mind is the chaotic, multi-headed serpent, just reacting to everything. But a purposeful mind, a Lakshmana, transforms that same raw power into a sharp, focused, and disciplined instrument. Its energy is no longer scattered, it's channeled.
So what does this transformed mind actually look and feel like? Well, it's defined by a complete shift in direction, from outward to inward.
Just as Lakshmani's singular purpose was to serve his brother Ram, who represents the divine, or the higher self, the transformed mind's goal is to serve our own inner consciousness, our highest truth, or Atma. It stops being the master and becomes the ultimate servant.
The Gita even gives us this beautifully simple, practical technique for it. Krishna advises that whenever the restless mind wanders off toward the senses, which it will, we just simply recognize it, gently withdraw it, and repeatedly bring it back under the control of the self. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a constant, gentle practice.
So when the mind is consistently turned inward, it starts to operate on a totally different energy. It moves into a state the Gita calls sattva. Now, unlike the frantic push of rajas or the heavy pull of tamas, sattva is the quality of balance, of truth, and of profound clarity. It's the feeling of a mind that's finally at peace, because it's aligned with its true purpose.
And this brings us full circle, right back to our original question. The untamed serpent mind, lost in chaos, becomes our own worst enemy. But that same mind, when given purpose and turned inward, becomes our most trusted ally. The choice, the Gita insists, is entirely ours. This quote just lays it all out with stunning clarity.
The mind isn't inherently good or bad. It is a tool. If you conquer it, it is the best of friends. If you don't, it remains the greatest enemy.
The contrast really is that clear. The mind as an enemy is uncontrolled, outward-facing, and destructive. The mind as a friend is directed, inward-facing, and becomes a protective, powerful ally aligned with truth. It's the same raw energy, just channeled differently.
Ultimately, the power of the serpent is always within you. It can be a destructive force or a divine servant. The only variable is the direction you give it, the goal you choose. So the Gita's final question isn't about the mind you have, but about the mind you will choose to create.